So a very good afternoon to all our viewers. I'm your host, Deepa Chaudhary, Vice President, Education and Awareness, Anon Global Foundation. And a very warm welcome to our guest for today. And I'm really honored to welcome her. She is Brigid Holder. And Brigid is the US best-selling author and publisher. Her passion is to allow women in this world to become published authors. And she is the founder of the Art of Grace Publishing House, which helps in raising the voice of women to change the world. And you are most welcome to ANONTalks, Brigid.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I love the work that the Anon Global Foundation is doing in the world. I really appreciate you inviting me along.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So Brigid, since we know that most of the topics on which you write your novels on are related to women. So most of your books are related to women, domestic violence, women abuse, and other women-oriented topics. So what made you choose this topic?
So we've done a series on intuition, and we've done one book on domestic abuse and one book on being a mother. I do have solo authors who have published works on various topics as well, all female authors. And the reason that I work with women is because by sharing our stories, we enable others to change their lives. So they can see what's possible, because somebody may have been through something similar to them. You know, we've got women who've been through situations of domestic abuse, drug and alcohol abuse, women who have lost touch with their intuition and refound it, mothers who are struggling, or mothers who had struggles through loss of children or through different circumstances in their lives that made motherhood hard for them. And being able to share those stories shows others what's possible and allows them the opportunity to change if they choose to do so.
Definitely. There's actually much more struggle than we can even think of in a woman's life. And we have to actually, just overcome all these things and move ahead.
Yeah. And you know, the stories that are shared, it gives them that power to take back, you know, the reins of their own life and shows them what can be done.
Yeah, actually, if you listen to someone else's story and you feel that the person in front overcame this, then definitely you get the motivation to accept those challenges and move on and face it with all the bravery and courage.
That's so true. Exactly.
Definitely. So I would really like to ask, since you are from Australia, generally, a portrayal of the women in the West is of independence and empowerment. So what do you have to say about that? That how come you picked up this topic of domestic violence and abuse and like living in a Western country?
So I grew up in as the product of a domestic abuse relationship, and I was very disheartened to find that it was still happening. You know, it's 30 plus years later since my mum and dad split up. And it is something that I'm really passionate about changing. And I like people to talk about topics that are generally considered taboo, because the more we talk about them, the more people can see that change is possible and that we can get to a place where these things don't happen to women. And if we start to empower women through other people's stories, then that's how we get to that place. But you asked in relation to, you know, empowering women, is that right?
Yeah, empowering.
And I think that the important thing is that if we talk about these things and we write about these things, it not only allows the reader to see what's possible, but it also allows the writer to heal. And through writing your story and having it as a published work, it really takes it to another level. And you may have thought that you had already healed from this and you've done work on it. You've seen counselors or psychotherapists or psychologists, whatever you've gone through, whatever process you've gone through to try and heal. Once you write and publish your story, it takes it to another level. And it makes it the healing process to be extended as such. And it's something that everybody who writes and publishes always gives me the feedback that they went through such a growth period that they're so glad they did it. So, really encourage people to write their stories and get them published in a multi-author book, or do a short story, publish it publicly, because it does make a difference in how you heal. And then it allows others to see through stories that they can change as well.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. Actually, venting out oneself helps in healing yourself a lot. You just vent out by writing, and then it heals naturally. And in the process, actually, it motivates the person who is reading it also. That's actually the best way, venting out your emotions and whatever you faced, and giving it in paper, writing it down, just pondering over it, and just sharing it with others is very, very important. And as India also did, I would like to say that women are considered to be Shakti, or power, and equal standing in the society. In India also, women are addressed as goddesses. So we actually have the power, to face the difficulties and accept the challenges. And I think we have a great power to do this. So behind every successful woman, there is actually a tribe of women which you are, building up, by connecting with women and making them write and publishing what they are writing, their stories. So it's actually a tribe of women that, are making each other, they're building a chain of, successful women. That's lovely. Yeah.
That is very true. I just want to go back. You said venting out. That is such a great way to put it. And it is what they're doing. They're venting out through their stories and allowing it to get out of themselves and into the world and help others. And yes, that is what happens. It's really, it continues to surprise me. Each multi-author book that we do, it brings together a tribe of women who often say that they always felt like they were out of place. And once they get into the multi-author book group, they feel like they've found their tribe, and they feel like they've been included in something that is so powerful that it lifts them up, as well as lifting up those who read the book. So yes, it is a beautiful tribe of women that come together for each multi-author book, and collectively all of the books, it allows them to lift each other up. Well, you know Jo Wheeler quite well, and Jo is always continuously lifting people up, and there's women like her showing up into every single book that we publish at the Art of Grace Publishing House. And it allows us to, show those women what's possible, and show them that it is, a beautiful life that you can live if you create change in what's happening right now.
Definitely. Okay, so Brigid, one more thing as you said that you have faced this domestic violence when you were a child, when you've seen it at home amongst your parents. So why did you think that addressing this domestic violence is very, very important? Why addressing this is important? Why did you feel this when you grew up?
It's something that gets swept under the carpet a lot in the Western world, and I wanted to showcase that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter what background you come from, what religion you have, and that it can happen to anyone, and you can find yourself in a situation that you never thought could happen to you. There's women in this book, Hear Her Roar, that have are wealthy. There are women who are not so wealthy. There are women who never grew up with domestic abuse in their family, and there are women who have grown up with domestic abuse in their family and they repeated the scenario, which is very common. But we wanted to show people that it's okay, it can happen to you, and it's okay. You can change the future for yourself. You don't have to continue to keep choosing partners who do this to you, and that it is possible to create that change at some point. So allowing people to see that and allowing them the opportunity to know that that's possible was why I decided to do the book. And as I said before, it's something that is swept under the carpet, and we need to talk about it more for it to change. We can't think it's going to change if we're not talking about it. Subjects that aren't talked about there's never any positive change happen in them. So although it's hard to talk about, I think it's important that we talk about it and we raise these stories and we have these books and we have people talking about it like we are today, and that we make it not such a taboo subject, and that people are then, they feel confident enough to come forward and say, I'm in this situation, how can I find help? Who can help me? And you know, allowing people to do that is where the change comes in. And that's, you know, it was really important to me. As I said earlier, it's something that I didn't think would be as prevalent today as it was when I was a child. And in fact, it's actually more prevalent, and it continues to, you know, astound me, and I'm quite sure you too, that it still continues to happen, and it's not okay. And it doesn't matter whether it's a man inflicting the abuse on the woman or the woman on the man, or in same-sex relationships. It doesn't matter who it is. It just shouldn't happen. You know, you shouldn't treat other human beings that way.
Definitely. Actually, the statistics and the things you are sharing about domestic abuse, especially, you know, it's alarming, you know, and it's an eye-opener that what you're saying, because we never had this thinking that in the Western countries also, like maybe in other parts of the world also, like things are so you know, grave, and the situations have become so grave. So like very, very difficult, and it's alarming actually. So we, as you are taking a step for this, it's a very, very good initiative, I must say. So all of you, all of us, if we get together, definitely we can make a change, because as there is a very famous saying that a woman is full circle. Within her is the power to create, nurture, and transform. So if we all women get together and, you know, make a pledge to, you know, do something for the society and for the women all the world around, it will actually be definitely will be able to make a change. I'm sure about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's the collective can make the difference. And that's, you know, with getting back in touch with your intuition too, it's the same thing. So I think that we forget along the way because society tells us otherwise. And a lot of women who are in abuse situations, they feel like this is the bed I made and I have to lay in it, or my religion dictates that I have to stay, or my family would be so ashamed of me if I talk about this, or, you know, whatever reasoning that they feel is the reason they have to stay is really the reason they have to leave, so that the next person that comes along and is from that background or that belief or that religion, and they can go and say, you know, she's done it, so can I. And that's really what we want to enable women to be able to see what's possible, and, you know, give them that empowerment so that they can make that change in their life for the positive, and then have great stories for their life, not have these sad stories for the rest of their life.
Definitely, definitely. So as you were saying, Brigid, about the perspective of people, so I would also like to ask you one question. How do you feel that your books relate to the general masses, and, you know, specifically the men, when it comes to women authors? What do you feel is the reaction of men when they are reading books written by women?
I think I did get from a gentleman on one of the intuition books. He said, I read this because my wife told me I needed to understand her better. And I thought that that was really good. You know, he had taken his wife's advice and read the book, and he said that it was really informative for him to see how women tick, because there were so many different women in the book, and, you know, they'd all got in touch with their intuition in a different way. Some of them hadn't lost their intuition, and wife had encouraged him to read it, and he felt like he understood women better after reading the book. And I think that that's why, you know, men should read our books, is so that they can actually understand from the women's perspective. It's the same as when men write true stories. You know, for us to read them is useful for us to understand men in general. It doesn't matter whether the book's been written by a solo person, solo male, or a group of men. It's really good to understand the opposite sex, and to be able to, you know, work collectively together towards a future that is more peaceful, and happiness is of abundance rather than sadness. And I think that that's one of the best reasons for men to read our books. But for the general masses, the books are targeted at women to be able to see how they can make change, positive change in their lives. And they do that through seeing how others have lived and how they have changed that reality for themselves.
Definitely. Actually, it's very, very important for men to read those books, so that, and especially, and also women should read such books written by men. Basically, it is the relationship which has to improve. Then I think all this negativity that is building up in the world will, fade away gradually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Something that it really has, they really have made a change, and the ripple effect then goes on, because if you can change one woman's life, then that changes those around them, and it could be their children, or it could be their family, sisters, brothers, mothers, whatever it is. The ripple effect just continues, and then those children don't live with those trauma patterns that their mother had or their father had, if they continue to change and go along and deal with their trauma that they've had.
Definitely. So, Brigid, which is your latest edition?
Intuitive Seeing Her Truth has just come out in paperback, so really exciting to have that available. It's the third in the series of intuitive books, and it was probably it took a long time coming, this book. There's been lots of hurdles with this one, but we got it there in the end, and it's got some great stories in it about connecting to your intuition and seeing your own truth and being able to connect to that.
So can you just share one favorite part of that book which you feel is your favorite?
I love I don't actually have a favorite story, but one of the girls read my chapter, and she sent me a message to say that she loved my chapter in that book. And in that book, I don't always write in every book that I publish, but this one I really felt that I needed to say that our intuition comes in many ways to us. And I really do love that I was able to contribute that to that book, and that it shows people that it's not only just about the seeing, but there's lots more to it. And, some people just know, and some people are able to feel, sense it, and our intuition comes to us in many ways. And I want the women of the world to know that they can reconnect to it, and that they can trust that intuition and know that it's going to happen.
That's nice. That's lovely.
Hmm.
So now, after having such a beautiful talk with you and such alarming, awareness that you have shared with us, that still things are bad and we need to immediately and strongly take steps for, such issues. So what message would you give to our young generation?
Definitely to ask for help. So don't ever think that you're alone. And I think that, in Australia, there's a real issue with teenagers and choosing to take their own lives. And it's very sad to see that happen. And I think there's always somebody to talk to. And they need to understand that there's always somebody to talk to, even if it's a stranger, to reach out for help and to ask for that help in wherever you are having struggles in your lives, because there is always a choice, and you could choose the positive path or you could choose the negative path. And to be able to hear that from somebody else and learn how they did it, and learn tools and techniques and processes to go through to get yourself back into that positive choice and that positive mindset, is really important. To know that there's always somebody you can talk to, and that you don't have to do this alone. Life is not meant to be alone. Like we were talking about before, relationship building is something that we do from the moment we are born, and you don't want to ever stop that as you grow older. And for our young people, I really want them to know there's always somebody you can talk to. Don't get to that stage where you think the only way out is to take your own life, and it's always somebody to talk to, and always somewhere you can go to get that help. So reach out to somebody, even if it's me. Reach out for help. It's there's services in every country that help people that are having trouble with anxiety or depression or struggling with their life choices, and there's always a choice to go the positive route. And I strongly encourage them to reach out and talk to somebody.
Definitely. There is so much on the plate now. You can connect online. If you want to meet in person, there are people available. And just a phone call or a message away, there is lots and lots of help available for such issues.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
mental health, for maybe some issues which you cannot discuss with your parents or maybe your
Yeah.
friends, you can just have, a guidance from a psychologist or anybody whom you trust and whom you consider to be close to you and who can give you a
That's
good
right.
advice. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brigid. I'm really happy to have this talk with you and, sharing such beautiful stories with and such inspiring actually stories that you are writing with, taking all the women along with you. So that's actually great. And thank you so much for this talk. Thank you once again for coming for Anon Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Deepa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.